From me to you, I say good morning. This morning, I will be referring to Beatles lyrics as a springboard to talk about the covenant of this church. I'll refer to the covenant that we recite weekly as the covenant. I'll also be making reference to the covenant of personal relations, of positive relations rather, which I will call by that name. I'll be expressing personal opinions that, of course, you are free to disagree with. In the words of George from the song on the Rubber Soul album, think for yourself, as if I have to tell a group of Unitarians to think for themselves. Okay, now show of hands. Who here was born or was living as of February 14th, 1964? Now, of those people, who could remember a gift that you got on that specific Valentine's Day 60 years ago, 1964? Not just a card, but a gift. Because I remember what I got. It was 5 days after the Beatles' first appearance on the Ed Sullivan Show, which, by the way, was the most watched episode of a show in U.S. TV history as of that time. So my parents gave me my first Beatles record for Valentine's Day, a 45 RPM record with I Want to Hold Your Hand on one side, and I Saw Her Standing There on the other side. I also remember what they gave my sister Linda. They gave her the Meet the Beatles album with I Want to Hold Your Hand, and I Saw Her Standing There, and 10 other songs. That's not fair, I cried. So what does this story have to do with the covenant? Well, I'll tell you, but not yet. The covenant begins with love is the doctrine of this church. So let's look at love. There are a lot of Beatles songs, and for that matter, a lot of songs generally that talk about love. Usually it's the baby, I love you, you're so fine kind of love, but not always. The Beatles also sing about a more universal type of love rather than the romantic kind. For instance, in Across the Universe, John sings of limitless, undying love, which shines around me like a million suns that calls me on and on across the universe. When I say universal love, I don't mean necessarily just loving the universe. It could also be directed and manifest itself towards just one person, but it's something different from romantic love. In the song The Word from the Beatles' Rubber Soul album, written by John and Paul, they tell us the Word is love. In that song, they say, it's so fine, it's sunshine. Now that I know what I feel must be right, I'm here to show everybody the light. And it's John singing, all you need is love. But is that true? And what does it mean anyway? Does it mean that you need to be a loving person, or that you need to be loved, or both? In a post-Beatles song by John, simply entitled Love, he tells us love is real, love is feeling, love is touch, love is reaching, love is free. But the song also says love is wanting to be loved. What love is asking to be loved. Love is needing to be loved. In the context of the covenant, I don't think the doctrine of this church is to get people to love you. Nothing wrong with having people love you, but I don't think that's what the covenant says. The covenant of positive relations, not surprisingly, expands the love part of the covenant we recite by talking about our actions and attitudes, not about what we. It says we should show love and gratitude and be role models for young people. Some people may be of the opinion that if you have love, then everything else follows. Does it really? There are obvious things like oxygen, food, and water that we need, and love doesn't guarantee that you will have those. But beyond the physical necessities, is love all that is needed? The covenant does not stop with love is the doctrine of this church. It doesn't say all you need is love. Before I leave the subject of love, what about the baby, I love you, you're so fine kind of love? I don't think that is the doctrine of this church. There's no mandate to have a significant other. We don't have a sacrament of holy matrimony. But the capacity to love, really love somebody in that way, can indicate a capacity to possess a more universal type of love. So don't dismiss romantic love as a frivolity. As Paul's saying in the song with the group Wings called Silly Little Love Songs, some people want to fill the world with silly love songs. What's wrong with that? I only know that when I'm in it, love isn't silly at all. Let's jump ahead to service. The covenant says service is our prayer. In one of the earliest Beatles songs, From Me to You, John and Paul make this offer. If there's anything that you want, if there's anything I can do, just call on me. And in another early one, Anytime at All, John sings, anytime at all you have to do is call, and I'll be there. These words are about serving others. It's no surprise that the covenant does not say getting others to serve us is our prayer, but I submit that reaching out to others when we are troubled and accepting their help is part of being in a community that believes in love and service. As Paul wrote and Ringo sang, I get by with little help from my friends. And in the song Help, written primarily by John, he sings, when I was younger, so much younger than today, I never needed anybody's help in any way, but now these days are gone and I'm not so self-assured. Now I find I've changed my mind. I've opened up the doors. Help me if you can, I'm feeling down, and I do appreciate your being around. Help me get my feet back on the ground. Won't you please help me? And now my life has changed in oh so many ways. My independence seems to vanish in the haze. But every now and then I feel so insecure. I know that I just need you like I've never done before. And here's Paul again. Anytime you feel the pain, hey Jude, refrain. Don't carry the world upon your shoulders. When we need help, when we need the services of others, we should be willing to open up the doors, not to think we have to carry the world on our shoulders. That is consistent with what the covenant is about. Independence is fine, but not to the extent that you cease being part of the community. And when someone lends you a helping hand at a time when you are in need, don't forget to let them know you appreciate them being around. We can put forth the effort to serve others even if we aren't sure we can successfully help out. Consider the Beatles song on the Abbey Road album with that deep philosophical title, She Came In Through the Bathroom Window, written by Paul, in which he sings, so I quit the police department and got myself a steady job, and though she tried her best to help me, she could steal, but she could not rob. But at least she tried her best. Now, a brief digression. Yes, I have my assistant. I'm either turning this on or turning this off. Okay, I think it's on. Okay, right. This is the Abbey Road album cover. Maybe it was off the whole time. Now back to our main program. The covenant says that the quest for truth is the sacrament of the church. So the Beatles and I will talk about truth. John, in the post-Beatles song, Give Me Some Truth, says, I'm sick and tired of hearing things from uptight, short-sighted, narrow-minded hypocritics. All I want is the truth. Just give me some truth. I don't know if hypocritics is a British variant of hypocrites or just a John Lennon word. Anyway, it's fine to want people to give you the truth, to tell it like it is. But the quest for truth should go beyond relying on what other people tell you. It can take effort. You can't just take the easy way out. As John sings in Strawberry Fields Forever, living is easy with eyes closed, misunderstanding all you see. We should look around us and seek to discover truth on our own. Paul wrote Blackbird. The song uses bird imagery, but Paul said in an interview, I had in mind a black woman rather than a bird. Those were the days of civil rights movement. This is really a song from me to a black woman experiencing those problems in the States. The lyrics I want to point out are as follows. Blackbird singing in the dead of night, take these broken wings and learn to fly. Take these sunken eyes and learn to see. Fly into the light. I would say that these words can apply to all of us. Our quest for truth can let us fly into the light and use our eyes to see, not just passively wait for truth to be handed to us. And the quest for truth is not limited to looking out there. George tells us in the song Within You, Without You, from the Sgt. Pepper's album, of the people who hide themselves behind a wall of illusion, never glimpse the truth. Try to realize it's all within yourself and life flows on within you and without you. Your quest for truth can involve looking within yourself as well as outside. George has sometimes been called the religious Beatle since adopting Hinduism. From George again, this time from My Sweet Lord, really want to see you, Lord, but it takes so long, my Lord. The quest for truth can continue throughout a lifetime or lifetimes. What about peace? John, who wrote All You Need Is Love, also asked in a Plastic Ono Band song that we give peace a chance. That was during the Vietnam War, and he may have been talking about peace in the context of war, but the word peace occurs in the covenant, to dwell together in peace. The covenant of positive relations, in the commentary about service as our prayer, states we do what needs to be done to create more justice and peace in our community and beyond. These references to peace apply more to interpersonal relations than to the absence of war. The comment in the Dwell Together in Peace section of the Covenant of Positive Relations says to address and resolve conflicts proactively and directly. Paul, with a little help from his friend John, wrote the song We Can Work It Out, in which Paul sings, life is very short and there's no time for fussing and fighting. So there's a statement for peace in interpersonal relations. Love, peace, service, seeking truth, these are all great things to aspire to, but living a human life in these hectic times, it can sometimes be hard to live up to all of our ideals. That's okay. As the Covenant of Positive Relations says, we accept responsibility for our individual actions and acknowledge that everyone makes mistakes. Address and resolve conflicts proactively. In Paul and John's song, Getting Better, Paul sings ungrammatically, me used to be angry young man, me hiding me head in the sand. You gave me the word, I finally heard. I'm doing the best that I can. Going back to We Can Work It Out, Paul sings, you can get it wrong, and still you think it's all right. Only time will tell if I am right or I am wrong. We can work it out. These words from the Beatles fit in with the Covenant of Positive Relations. We may fall short of our ideals, and while we may be wrong, we may make mistakes, we just need to do the best we can. And when there are conflicting viewpoints, we can work it out. Here's a fun fact. Jerusalem is relatively small, just 48 square miles. By comparison, Corpus Christi is 460 square miles. Now, 2/3 of that is water, but there's still 154 square miles of land, more than 3 times the area of Jerusalem. Even Kingsville is 36 square miles. So why do I mention this? I'll tell you. Soon, but not yet. The commentary in the Covenant of Positive Relations and the part about dwelling together in peace does not actually say anything about dwelling, so I will. We meet at this location, which has been dedicated as our church, as a place of sanctuary. Now, in Little Jerusalem, there are numerous places that people of multiple religions view as special and holy, locations each with a unique and special significance. But I will bet that if the Unitarian Universalist Church of Corpus Christi decided to move to a new location, 6901 Holly would not become a great place of pilgrimage. I submit that any plot of land on the surface of the earth has the potential to be a place where we who are gathered here today can dwell together in peace and harmony. But why limit it to a place on the surface of the earth? Can we do our dwelling underwater? Why not? Consider what Ringo has to say in the song Octopus's Garden on the Abbey Road album. We would swim, we would sing and dance around, we would shout and swim about the coral that lies beneath the waves. Oh, what joy for every girl and boy knowing that they're happy and they're safe. We would be so happy, you and me. Or if you prefer, we could dwell on the Yellow Submarine, the song written primarily by Paul but sung by Ringo. Our friends are all aboard. We live a life of ease. Every one of us has all we need. Similar to the quest for truth, the covenant speaks of seeking knowledge and freedom. Do the Beatles have anything to say about freedom? Of course they do. We already talked about Blackbird. The lyrics also represent the flight to freedom. You were only waiting for this moment to be free. In a post-Beatles song, appropriately entitled Freedom, Paul sings, "This is my right, a right given by God to live a free life, to live in freedom." In the song I mentioned earlier, the word, remember the word is love, John ties love and freedom together. Say the word and you'll be free. The thing about freedom is that if everyone has complete freedom to do whatever they want, and live however they want, one person's freedom may conflict with another person's freedom to live the way and do the things that they want. Freedom entails not only freedom to and freedom of, but also freedom from. While we have a covenant of positive relations, some people find freedom by removing themselves from not so positive relations. We find this in some of the Beatles songs. For instance, returning to Ringo's Octopus's Garden, we can look at some additional lyrics, like why would anyone need to be under the sea in an octopus's garden? So we could be warm below the storm in our little hideaway beneath the waves. In The Fool on the Hill, written by Paul and appearing on the Magical Mystery Tour album, Paul sings about someone alone on a hill. The song says, nobody wants to know him. They can see that he's just a fool. Paul said in an interview, I was writing about someone like Maharishi. His detractors called him a fool. Saviors or gurus are generally spat upon. As the song says, he doesn't listen to them. He knows that they're the fools. The so-called fool sees the sun going down and the eyes in his head see the world spinning around. So we have people who are hiding away in an octopus's garden and a visionary alone on a hill. These people have found freedom in their own ways, but that's not the kind of freedom that I think is consistent with our covenant. We don't seek freedom by hiding away. We are engaged with the community. Paul tells us about Penny Lane, and he celebrates the everyday people that you find there, the barber, banker, fireman, and nurse. The nurse is selling poppies, which the Royal British Legion promotes as a symbol of both remembrance of those fallen in war and the hope for a peaceful future. A little side note, Paul said that in an interview that Americans think that the nurse is selling puppies, little dogs from the tray. And I have to admit that when I heard the song, that's what I thought he was saying was puppies. So, but the song says, Penny Lane is in my ears and in my eyes. Whether people are on Penny Lane or Holly Road or Leopard Street or wherever, we are called upon to keep them in our ears and in our eyes. Love is the doctrine, service is our prayer. George wrote a song that hits several aspects of the covenant. In a post-Beatles song, Give Me Love, George touches on peace, freedom, love, and the quest for truth. Give me love, give me love, give me peace on earth. Give me light, give me life, keep me free from birth. Give me hope, help me cope with this heavy load, trying to touch and reach you with heart and soul. Oh, my Lord, please take hold of my hand that I might understand you. Now, with one of those lines that keep me free from birth, George, being Hindu, may have meant something other than the freedom that we've been talking about, but in any event, I left that in there. But getting back to Valentine's Day 1964, you remember that from a little earlier today. My sister got the album, and I only got the 45 RPM single. That's not fair. Then my mother reminded me that I also got a box of chocolate-covered cherries. Well, love of chocolate-covered cherries may not be envisioned by the doctrine of this church, but I did love them in a sense, so I agree that it was fair that a 9-year-old boy who liked the Fab Four and chocolate-covered cherries got what I got, and that my 16-year-old sister, the demographic epitome of a Beatlemaniac, got what she got, and the Westheimer household could dwell together in peace. So the Beatles may sing that all you need is love, but sometimes you may need peace, or truth, or a helping hand, or togetherness, or freedom, or music, or chocolate-covered cherries. So there you have it, Impressions of Our Covenant, prompted by the Beatles. And so when we leave here today, we can enjoy, in the words of Paul from the Revolver album, this good day sunshine. Thank you.